We got a new fence, by the way. The cows decided they were going to turn into deer. I don't know if they thought Santa Claus was coming or what the deal was, but they just hopped over the fence a couple days ago. And so I was forced to put this fence up. As you guys can see from the title of the video, we're going to be doing the full custom exhaust for the 86. I'm actually really excited about this. I've been wanting to do this one for a while. Yeah, just realized there's smoke outside. My neighbor has a bit of a fire pit going on. So yeah, don't worry. We're not gonna die. We're not getting caught on fire. Everything is under control. Good. Hold that thought. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, we have to address the undercoating of the car, because once we do the exhaust, we're not going to want to take the exhaust off, and I mean, we probably will have to anyways, but we should go ahead and address the undercarriage of the car so that it's more or less getting closer to what we want and it looks as good as in there. So let's jump into it. There seems to be a undercarriage protectant on these cars already, which is a good thing, and it could be a bad thing as well, but in this case it's a good thing. We're just going to essentially paint the undercarriage coating so that it's nice and crispy black. After quickly realizing that I formatted my card and I'm not sure that I have the other footage, we're now going to finally start the AE86 exhaust. But first we have to assemble a quick project. By the way, if you have dogs, look into these beds. They're very good unless you have a Great Dane and she likes to rip it up as she tries to go to bed. Not recommended for scratching dogs. Once it's all said and done, it's a nice, slightly flexible bed. Now, let's get to working on this thing finally, after who knows how long. Our first obstacle is this is essentially the shape of the header. Cross your fingers, we'll be able to go from here to here, bolt it on without any issue, and that would be easier for future plans of the car, of course. Alright. Ooh, those are the motor mounts right there. Even if the motor mount weren't to get in our way, the frame rail would be right there. So we need to start from scratch. But there's always a first time for everything, right? Due to the scenario or the situation that we just got handed, I'm gonna go ahead and warn you, we're gonna get some progress made, but we're not gonna finish it. So you're gonna have to stay tuned for the second video because it's gonna get quite intricate. At this point, the hardest part is going from the header to the tunnel, essentially. After that, it's a lot easier. So let's see what happens. That's about time. Not gonna waste time cleaning it up. We're gonna fit it on, see if we can work with it, and if not, we're gonna cut more off until we can work with something. It's kind of the plan. We'll see how that goes. Oh, we have something. I don't know if it's a good something, but it's on there. It's a very aggressive something. We may be able to make that work, actually. I'm trying to get this transition line as well faded as my haircut. That way, it's a little bit nicer. So we pretty much got this as filed down as we could. These little edges stick out a little bit, but first we want to test fit this pipe so we know, you know, we give or take gave it a circular form, just enough to kind of have it mock up well. So we're gonna test fit this thing and hopefully it fits pretty close to where we want it. Again, this is a 4-inch pipe. There's gonna be a lot of flow after this. These corners end up sticking out a hair and the thickness of this pipe will get in the way. So we have our first pie cut out of it, or at least our first angle, as you guys can see. Now, I knew this would open up our footprint in terms of the pipe diameter because you kind of elongate the opening as a angle. It's kind of hard to tell, but it definitely takes care of the perimeter as a whole, which is exactly what we wanted. That was the biggest concern I had, cutting this at an angle and then squaring it up. It would have been a hassle. So the fact that we can run a round pipe would have been more ideal, or is more ideal. So now we have to start cutting angles into this so that we can have a really tight turn inside the car. The biggest issue is that this pipe here, believe it or not, is a sacred 4-inch pipe. This pipe came out of my a 95 Supra. It's still rolling around somewhere, but this pipe actually came out of that car because a lot of words, but this is from that car and it was making healthy power and it was a good car. So it is essentially blessed and it should help the project go smoother because we're adding legendary parts to a legendary car. Time for the truth. We're gonna see if this clears. This little piece of metal here on this side may get in the way. I think it'll be fine. The next one is going to correct us tremendously. So we're going to cut off another one, clean it up, same as this one. We're gonna leave the exhaust fumes from the Mark IV. Still smells like methanol. Before we set these in there, we're gonna use a little bit of painter's tape to see if hopefully we can squeeze the maximum amount out of these two. It's pretty good. We have to clearance our motor mount just a touch. It sticks out just a tiny bit to where it gets in the way, and it's not going to affect it in any way. We opened up this bolt a touch and then this motor mount a little bit. We kind of gave it a little bit of a haircut there. And we're going to bolt it back on, try this on again, and hope we have the green light to continue welding. The only downside to any of this is that in order to take off the motor mount, we're going to have to take off the exhaust. But usually if the motor mount comes off, it's because the engine's gonna come out and the exhaust has to come out anyways. I'm gonna tack it on the car just because I know that if I tape it and then I continue building, it's gonna move. So I'm going to go ahead and tack it and then we can continue. So much for it being clean. Luckily it's just Walmart paint, so who cares? Now that we're underneath the car, it's kind of easier to see in a sense what we were trying to get to. So the exhaust is way up there. It starts farther forward. If it started farther back, we could just shoot it straight down, no problem. It seems like now we just bring it down and back and ta-da. But no, there's another thing that we're missing. That other thing we're missing is the steering rack. So we haven't installed a steering rack on this car for multiple reasons. One, I didn't know where it was gonna sit because a lot of those mounting points are gone at this point. So we're going to have to kind of recreate both in a sense in the exhaust install because both the steering rack and the exhaust need to pass somewhere in this area. No. Ignore this exhaust pipe. This is actually not a drive shaft. It looks like a drive shaft. Not a drive shaft, okay? Not a drive shaft. Okay, so it's in the spot. Now we need to find a spot. Right now we're at the part where we need to figure out how to mount it, which we're not sure, and y'all are kind of gonna learn with me. And for sure is we're gonna still use the OEM bushings that we had from our steering column assembly, essentially. Okay, so let me show you guys what we have so far. Here, what we did, obviously, sorry for all this disgustingness right here, but it is what it is. This is what we have. I have another one on its way in terms of a steering column. I was lucky enough to find one, so we're not going to be cleaning this. We're just going to be replacing it all together. So let me explain. Basically, we use the OEM hardware that is supposed to connect the steering rack, the subframe. Essentially, this is exactly where it used to go, but we cut off the excess little flap that went back here that would fasten it. What we did is we just drilled through this piece, put a through bolt, and then it already goes all the way around. So we just added a little piece of metal from here to here, drilled 2 holes, fastened it up, and that is holding it very well. On this side, essentially this one is more or less to just hold it in place. The other one is the one that secures it from side to side. So this one we can literally keep where it is, and I'm pretty sure what we're gonna do is push it upward so that it brings it up even farther.